Another Spurs legend from the 90s era, David was arguably the most skillful of them all, not just for Spurs but in the whole of England at the time. His ability to mesmerise defenders was second to none.
David was always going to be a crowd pleaser. When he arrived at the club, he had a great personality, a great presence about him, and a wonderful ability on the field.
But it wasn't always the case. Growing up, David didn't always catch the eye.
Even when I was young, my main quality was my skills. Unfortunately for me, when I was younger, I was a tiny boy, very skinny, and I couldn't take advantage of my skills at the time.
Ginola's rise to one of the greatest players in the Premier League era had modest beginnings. He started at Sporting Toulon, moving on to various French clubs until his high-profile move to Paris Saint-Germain in 1992. His rise to one of the top teams in France alerted clubs in Europe, and it wasn't long before Newcastle were knocking on the door. Then manager Kevin Keegan was looking to build a team of flair players, and Ginola fitted the bill. David was a legend on Tyne's side, but the departure of Kevin Keegan and the arrival of Kenny Dalglish saw the end of the player's career at Newcastle.
We had a phone call from Jerry Francis, and Jerry told me, David, I love you, we want you at the club, and say, well, lovely. I love English football, I love English Premier League, and it was for me the opportunity to join a club with a certain image of glamour, of always playing nice football. They were in search of the past, the past years. And I said to myself, well, why not?
David was quick to establish himself as one of the fans' favourites, and he created an air of excitement about the ground.
His crossing of the ball into the box, the ability to come in from whichever side and score goals, cutting inside his fullback. He was again a typically Tottenham player, one that you knew that the fans were going to love.
I used to hear my wife. Once she came to me and say she was at the game and she came back. We came back home and we talked about the things and said, David, you know what is amazing? Every time the ball is ready towards you, it's like the stadium is holding the breath, expecting something great. So when you were doing something fantastic, it was like a massive sharing, they were so happy. And when it was something, didn't success, it was like a big disappointment. So it's about my life, actually. They say, or you love me, or you hate me, or you do things great, or you do things really bad. It's no just in the middle. I don't know that. My life is not just in the middle.
David was indeed a crowd pleaser, and more so than his exceptional season in 1998-99. He was unstoppable, winning both PFA and Football Writers' Player of the Year. It's a season David attributes more to being left out of the French World Cup winning squad than anything else.
In 98-99, probably in the subconscious, I put myself in a situation and every game was a final of the World Cup. So I have to be fantastic.
The qualities of David Ginola, who had that incredible season where he was almost unstoppable, and scoring the solo goal at Barnsley, coming in field and skipping past 3 or 4 players.
He must be aware, he's away from 1, away from 2, away from 3. Magic from David Ginola. Genius from the Frenchman. Barnsley just didn't have an answer. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's the goal.
That goal will be the lasting memory of David Ginola for Spurs fans. The last word, however, must be left to the French maestro.
I would be very arrogant. Look, I can be very arrogant. I have in my house a trophy gallery, big one. And I have a cup in this gallery, which is the box holders Player of the Year. On this cup you have all the different names of the legends who play for the club. And my pride, having this cup, I'm not showing people when they're coming to my house. I'm not showing my 3 times winnings. I'm showing all the great players who play for Spurs in all the history of the club, in the like of Klinsmann, Anderton, Campbell, Mabbutt, Gascoigne, Lineker, Waddle. It's just fantastic because I know all of them, and I know they are great players. And if I'm amongst them, it's probably because I'm not too bad.
Len Dukemin, or the Duke as he was known, was the first real football star to come out of the Channel Islands.
Was a Tottenham scout who saw him playing in Guernsey. The other thing one has to remember about the early 50s side was that it was only shortly after World War II. Most of these players had given service to their country in various fields during the war. And the man wearing the number 9 shirt actually was a gardener in a monastery in Guernsey, an island that was occupied by the Germans. And spoke good French as well as English.
The story was that he came to the Channel Islands. He was allegedly hidden in a convent during the war as a boy, from the Germans. Whether this is true or not, I don't know. But
he was spotted by the Tottenham scout and would become known at Tottenham as the Duke, then Dukeman, who certainly wasn't in the Bobby Smith mould of centre forwards. He was much more the sort of player who could hold the ball, flick it off here, flick it off there, to Bailey, to Bennett, so on and so forth. But a good player who was a bit hard on himself, I think, at times, a bit critical of himself. That's what his reputation was. Deep thinker, a bit of a worrier. Again, was his reputation. But a good player and certainly a favourite with the crowd.
The Spurs forwards moved smoothly and sweetly, and it was no surprise when a Bailey pass gave Dukeman his chance to put them ahead.
The Duke was indeed a crowd favourite, and a total of 134 goals in his Spurs career. That was, as a goal scorer, very consistent.
He wasn't the sort of, lion at the centre of the charge, is really what I'm saying. He was much more aware. He was the leader of the line, but not the sort of point of the line. He took opportunities well. I mean, he had a reputation for give him a half chance and he'll take a high percentage of them. Different game though in those days.
Over halfway through the list, and let's look back at 30 through to 21. At number 30 is UEFA Cup final hero Alan Mullery. 29 is the gentleman striker Gary Lineker. Number 28 is the first of the dynasty of keepers, Ted Ditchburn. At 27 is 80s strike sensation Steve Archibald. Number 26 is another striker, this time from the 70s, Martin Chivers. And 25 is Clive Allen joining his father in the list. Number 24 is the defensive heart of the double side, Maurice Norman. With 23, the wing wizard Chris Waddle. Number 22 is the French maestro David Ginola. And rounding off the list so far is push and run striker the Duke.